Today's story session, I'm going to tell you a story from Story Weaver, and it's a Chinese folk tale. It's called The Wailing Tree. There used to be a poor old farmer woman called Mrs. Chang. Her only son, Shen, had gone to the city in search of job. After a long time, he wrote a letter to her. But poor Mrs. Chang was not educated. She was very excited to receive the letter from her son, but she didn't know what to do with it. She didn't know how to read. She was so anxious to find out how her son was. Was he safe? Was he eating properly? Did he find a job? Was he taking good care of himself? All these questions were rushing in her mind. And that is when Warrior Wen crossed the path. Warrior Wen was going that side with a big stick in his hand, and Mrs. Chang quickly called out to him, "Excuse me, soldier, can you please do me a favor?" He asked, "Yes, lady, tell me, how can I help you? I received a letter from my son. I cannot read, I am not educated. Can you help me, please? I'm really very anxious to know about him." So, Warrior Wen opened the envelope, took out the piece of paper, looked at it, and started crying. Started crying profusely. Tears were rushing and gushing out of his eyes. Plip, plop, plip, plop, plip, plop, plip, plop. And soon Mrs. Chang looked at him and she was worried very badly. "What happened to my son? Please, soldier, tell me, is he all right? Is he safe?" She started bombarding him with lots of questions. But Warrior Wen could not speak. He just went on crying. That's when Peddler Pen came that way. Peddler Pen looked at this man and Mrs. Chang, who too by this time had started crying. He joined them and he too started wailing. He started crying louder than these two people. Now, when the noise became really loud, Master Ming, he was a school teacher in a school that was nearby. This loud noise of these three people wailing was so loud, it disturbed him in the class, and he came out of curiosity to find out what was wrong here. And who could have been the most happy when this happened? Of course, the children, because the class got interrupted in between. They were very curious to find out. They started whispering. They started rushing slowly behind their teacher, Master Ming. They too were very curious to find out what is wrong. What is the problem here? Whatever it is, our class got interrupted. Isn't that the best thing to have ever happened? Chalo, let's go behind our master and see what is all this happening here. So there was a huge crowd now around these three people. "What is the matter with the three of you? Why are you all crying?" Master Ming was very furious because his class got interrupted. He was not really very in a mood to help or find out if he could solve the problem. All that was bothering was these people's noise was disturbing him. So Peddler Pen said, "I'll go first." As if talking to a master, he had to raise his hand first and then he started speaking. "I'll go first. I'll tell you what's the problem. 1 year ago, I tied a lot of pots to my donkey and I was taking the donkey to the market to sell all the pots. On the way to the market, the donkey, that stupid fellow, he saw his own shadow, got scared and started braying very badly. So badly that he shook so vigorously that the pots fell down and broke into pieces. I felt like crying very badly, but then I had to immediately think, what should I do to cut down my losses? How can I make up for the money that I lost? So I didn't have the time to cry. It has been 1 year and I haven't cried since. So when I looked at these two people wailing here, I immediately thought of that and I just couldn't control my tears and I started crying, Master Ming. All right, what is the problem with you? He asked Warrior Wen. Warrior Wen? Sir, actually, sir, he got really very scared because Master Ming was, after all, a school teacher. By the time he was actually mincing his words, Mrs. Chang started to cry and speak at the same time, so she was not very audible. So actually, I called the soldier. Stop, lady. Either you cry or you talk. I can't hear you very clearly. Okay, I'll stop crying and tell, sir, I received a letter from my son in the city, but I am uneducated. I don't know what happened to him. I was very anxious and worried about his safety. This Mr. Soldier here, he was crossing. I asked for his help and he took the letter. He looked at it for a few seconds and he started crying profusely. So I thought something bad happened to my son. So you're not sure what actually happened to your son? No, sir, I don't know what happened to him. All right, so what is written in that letter, Warrior Wen? Sir, actually, sir, the problem is, sir, I did not go to school, sir. I dropped out, sir, because I had a sir exactly like you, sir, who was very scary, sir. So I stopped going to school. I don't know how to read, sir. So you didn't read his letter? No, I did not read the letter, sir. But I got overridden with guilt that I'm not able to read now. Had I not dropped out of school, I could have read this letter. I'm now an illiterate. I would have become an educated man, sir. So thinking of that, I started crying, sir. How stupid. Nobody knows the real reason why the other person is crying, and there were three people wailing really badly. And that is how the story comes to an end. Nobody knows what was written in the letter. Isn't that a real suspense? Now, the activity for you people for today is try to imagine what could have Shen written to his mother, Mrs. Chang. What could have been the contents of that letter? Imagine all possibilities. It could have been something really funny. It could have been something very scary. It could have been something very hilarious. It could be something really very sad. Probably he didn't find a job. Probably he found a job. Probably he found a beautiful girl and got married. We never know. So this is how we have some real fun in our workshops with different possibilities to a given story. All right, now scratch your heads, think of a possibility, think of all the possibilities. If you can think of 2 or 3 stories, that too is really awesome. Now Shravan has put on his thinking hat. People usually put on thinking hat, but Shravan puts on his thinking chin, because when he starts scratching his chin, that's when his brain starts working and he comes up with nice ideas, right? All right, so that's the end of the session today, and we will meet in the workshop.